Say, what is going on everyone, Void Hunter here, bringing you some Naruto related top 5s. And in today's video we're going to be talking about part 1. What are the top 5 strongest Genin from part 1? This is going to encompass all of part 1. The only thing we're not talking about is filler, because that could be really weird, and scaling the filler in general is just hard, and frankly no one cares about the filler. So we're not going to be talking about it. We're just going to be focusing on the stuff that anyone who's watched part 1 probably knows. So we're just going to head right on into it and starting in at number 5. Now I feel like this might be a bit of a controversial pick, as I feel like most times I've seen this list, nobody really mentions how strong Tamari is. But trust me when I say Tamari is by far the most sleeper pick of the strongest Genin. And besides that, I mean, she just has this kind of swag about her. Like, Ten gets this entire elaborate kunai type jutsu using all these different weapons put together. She goes through like all these different spins and twirls and all this cool shit with like smoke dragons. And then like she does all this stuff, and while it might have worked on like any normal ninja, Ten looks at it and just says, okay, and then just does this to Ten's jutsu. Top of that, that's not even the worst part.
He needs some milk!
つまらないな、本当に。
So, yeah, Tamari's like no joke, dude. And I know some of you guys out there might be trying to write this off and be like, Void Hunter, come on, that's only one time that she did that. She didn't do anything else, right? And, no, not at all. She actually has an infinitely much more impressive feat than a lot of the other Genin in the series, minus the other ones on this list, when she fights Tayuya. Like, Shikamaru is out here struggling and trying to hold off Tayuya. Everyone else is, like, on the verge of dying, and Shikamaru's not that far away either. And, like, he's having this very pitched battle where he go one or the other. And Tayuya just comes in and just... Like, they're inside an entire forest, and after she does this jutsu, it literally clears out the entire forest. There's like no trees anywhere, and absolutely bodies Tayuya. She's dead. Enough said. Now, I think if we were talking about the Chunin exams arc when Rockley first debuted the 8 Gates, he would probably be number like 1 or 2 on this list. But unfortunately, towards the end of this series, he kind of does get power crept a little bit, because you got people later on, not to spoil anything, that are like doing like Kage level stuff. But Rockley's no joke. And the thing with Rockley is that he's actually a diametric opposite to people like Tamari. He ain't got no jutsu that swamps an entire forest. He only got these hands. But these hands can go at like faster than sound, faster than even the eye can see, apparently. He whoop your ass faster than you can even imagine him doing it. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, his speed is ridiculous, and if it wasn't for some of the people that come on later on this list, he probably would just straight up be number 1. Like, his fight with Gaara has to be one of the best fights, at least in part 1. Maybe not in the entire series, but, you know, definitely in part 1. And on top of that, he absolutely bodies Gaara. If Gaara didn't have his sand shield, I don't know if anyone during the Chunin exams arc would have even been able to beat him. He's just way too fast, dude. Like, I can't even come up with an argument for how people could really counter that speed besides having that speed themselves. And besides, you know, the later ones on this list, Rockley has to be one of the strongest Genin in part 1, strictly due to his taijutsu and gates power. Absolute god tier taijutsu Genin. Now, I don't think anyone's particularly surprised to see Gaara on this list. I mean, a lot of his feats really speak for themselves. The guy fights the strongest Genin in the series, including the main characters, and for the most part, bodies them pretty much every time. Like, you know, his defense, his offense, it's practically the same. Like, absolute tank, absolute offense, like, sand coffin, sand burial, sand tsunami, sand shower. The classic abilities. And it's pretty much abundantly clear the second Gaara is introduced that he is a monster of a unit. Like I'm pretty sure Kimimaro is at least Jonin level. Like, Orochimaru and Kabuto seem pretty sure that, like, if they had him, they would have been able to, like, clap the third Hokage. And that's pretty insane, considering that, you know, everyone that fights Kimimaro is, like, not even able to budge the dude until Gaara shows up and does this. I mean, you can make a pretty good case that Gaara would be able to beat even some people in Shippuden at this point in the series. Like, Kimimaro isn't even really able to do anything to him in this fight. He kind of just keeps getting caught over and over in different versions of Sand Coffin and Sand Burial, and there really wasn't much he could do about it. Keep in mind, Kimimaro's reacting to, like, QB Naruto. Granted, it's, like, not without, you know, granted, it's without the tails. And it's not like Naruto even had, like, a cloak. But it's still pretty impressive, because he had, like, 2,000 of them there. And on top of that, Drunken Fist Lee wasn't even able to damage him. So, like, his reaction time is, like, stupid, and even he couldn't do anything about it. And I don't know anybody else at that point in the series besides actual Kage who would even be able to maybe even outpace the sand that Gaara has. Gaara is an absolute unit, and if it wasn't for the power scaling towards the end of this part of the series, I'd probably put him up at number 1 without a doubt. Alright, now hear me out. I know Naruto is kind of a dumbass, but he's also, ironically, one of the strongest people in the series, despite the fact that the series is an underdog story. Like, this guy, especially in his fight with Sasuke at the end of the series, like, you can make a pretty good case that, like, he would do this to pretty much anyone that, like, he goes up against other than, like, a handful of people. And I mean, that entire fight is basically one, like, super ultimate attack after another. Like, Sasuke pile drives Naruto from the top of, I think, either Hashirama or Madara's statue, and just pile drives him head first straight into concrete, and Naruto straight up survives it. You're gonna tell me that like Rock Lee's gonna survive that? You're gonna tell me that Neji's gonna survive that? You're gonna tell me that Choji's gonna... No! They're not gonna survive that, they're gonna die. Here we go Naruto, and he survives that. Like, Naruto also gets his lung ripped out of him by Sasuke using a Chidori. He survives that too. Like, you're not gonna kill Naruto at this point in the series unless you're Sasuke. But like, seriously, like, out of all the Genin, can you really imagine anybody else doing the kind of stuff that Naruto and Sasuke do in this final valley? Like, this is like a Kage level fight they're having here, and they're Genin. Absolutely oblivious. And the thing is, like, Naruto is so fast at this point that he's speed blitzing Sasuke in his One-Tails cloak. And he's speed blitzing this guy, and he literally has Rock Lee's Taijutsu speed. Like, without the weights. And that's not even including the time of training it was since the Chunin exams. And the guy is speed blitzing Sasuke to the point that he needs to unlock the third Tomo of his Sharingan in order to even react to him. And it's only after that that he's even able to counter Naruto with the One-Tails. One-Tails Naruto is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I don't even think Shippuden really mentions how strong One-Tails is after this point. But in part 1, One-Tails Naruto is a beast. Absolute beast. He would easily beat most of the other Genin on this list. Like, he already beat Neji with barely any of it. Like, barely any of his Nine-Tails chakra. He beat Neji with a single punch to the jaw. Like, and like, he pretty much already fought every other Genin in the series, except for like a handful of them. And, I mean, yeah, he got his butt kicked, but a lot of those times, he didn't even use Kurama. If we were talking about base Naruto, he probably would get absolutely clapped by a few of the people on this list. Like, he is kind of an idiot, and I won't even lie. He's not really that impressive in base, except for being able to tussle with a few people. And he catches some people off guard every now and then. And I'm not here to downplay Naruto and say he's a bad character because he's dumb. He isn't. He's a great character. But you have to admit, like, Kurama kind of carries him in this list because, like, One-Tails is such a massive amp compared to his base. Like, base Naruto isn't doing anything to number 1 on this list. Alright, now much like Gaara, he absolutely had to be on this list. Sasuke, throughout the series, I mean, he gets a bad rap in some fights, but the fights he does excel in, which is, you know, quite a lot, he does, like, super well. Like, he fought Gaara, and, like, granted, once Gaara went, you know, Shukaku mode, he didn't really do much, but he kind of made Rock Lee look like a chump when he showed up. And, like, that was before he unlocked the Curse Mark, before he had Curse Mark Stage 2, and before he had all the training he had in the by the time he fought Naruto in the Final Valley. Sasuke, by the end of the series, is unquestionably a beast. Like, he's unquestionably a beast. Like I said, basically everything I said from the Naruto section applies here. Like, yeah, Naruto has One-Tails, right? And he gets super fast. He gets a super amp. He basically cannot die. But you know who ends up defeating him? It was Sasuke. Yeah, like, you know, Sasuke struggles a bit in the earlier parts of this fight after he absolutely washes base Naruto. And then once he gets, you know, the One-Tails, yeah, he gets bodied a little bit for a good bit, and it's savage. But once he gets that 3 Tomos, once he gets that Curse Mark going, like, it's such a pitched fight. And the thing is with Sasuke is, like, you might, you know, some of the Rock Lee fans on here are probably mad because it's like, well, Rock Lee would just speed blitz, though. And it's like, I don't think that's the case at this point. Because we're talking about a Sasuke with a significantly more overpowered state than he was with, like, the little black cape he had and stuff during the Chunin exams. And he actually had Rock Lee's off-weighted, you know, speed. He had the speed of Rock Lee without the weights in base. And Jirobo says something along the lines of, like, he's 10 times stronger when he's in Curse Mark. And also the fact that Sasuke has an even stronger curse mark than Kimimaru. It's like the Heaven Seal curse mark, I believe. And that's insane. Like, speed alone, he should be at least equal or like somewhat comparable to Rockley's 5th gate, if not even faster. Because in terms of like how it looks, it's absolutely equal. But yet, it was a pretty close fight with him in Naruto, but I have to give this to Sasuke because he is a little bit stronger than Naruto in this fight. Or at least he's able to react to Naruto, and I don't know if any other Genin in the series would even be able to speed blitz him at this point, because his Sharingan gives him way too much visual prowess and cognition and stuff, like precognition in the fights. Like, I don't think he'd actually be able to even hit him at this point. I think if Rockley used the 5th gate, he wouldn't even be able to do anything that Sasuke couldn't react to. And the other thing with Sasuke is he can fly at this point because of his wings. So, like, he has the ability to fly that nobody else in this series has. And keep in mind, flying is kind of an OP ability because it's kind of an endgame ability by the end of the series, and not even part 1 like Shippuden. Flying is a pretty strong ability, but that's not even his main thing. Like, he doesn't use that ability too much, but it is something to note. But yeah, Sasuke is an absolute beast. He takes number 1 in my opinion, and while you might be able to say Naruto if he was a little bit more angry and didn't have like, if Sasuke didn't have plot armor and stuff, maybe Naruto could take this, but I have to give the edge to Sasuke here, just due to that. So, anyway, and I mean, the final explosion between him and Naruto's Rasengan and Chidori clash literally took up the entire final valley. They had to repair that for Shippuden. That took 3 years. Maybe not 3 years exactly, but they had to repair the whole thing because they literally destroyed it with their clash. Can you imagine anybody else on this list doing that level of damage to concrete and cement? Or rock, such a natural formation? No, like, that explosion is like, almost like a Jubi blast. Like, maybe that's a stretch, but it's comparable to like a Bijudama, a tailed beast bomb. Like, the stuff that like Naruto gets like super late in the series. And yeah, it was a clash between the two, but it should speak to the level of damage being output by 2 different units here. Like, this is 2 people clashing, so there has to be some relativity between the 2 people launching it. And seriously, this is kind of like a Super Saiyan God Goku and Beerus thing, where people like to downplay it because it's 2 people doing it, but it's still at least half. Half of it's at least Sasuke, and the other half is at least Naruto. So even if it's half the damage being, put out there by one of those 2 people, that's still really impressive. And yeah, the speed alone would probably gatekeep most other Genin on this list, and not on this list, from being able to do pretty much anything to these 2. The speed alone, this is just like Rockley. Like, even if you don't take ninjutsu and stuff into account, the speed alone would absolutely gatekeep. You might even say that he could even beat Kakashi at this point in the series. It's kind of bad how strong these 2 get. But anyways, that's gonna wrap up the video. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to maybe help me out, leave a like. If you want to see more Naruto content, I'm gonna definitely be doing more of it, more of these top 5 style videos. But until then, that's all from me. This has been Void Hunter, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day, and peace!